Hello, my name is Gail Emma Scott, and I'm reading chapter by chapter from my novel Double Lives. It is set in Texas in the mid 1970s. Chapter 6 of 34. Faith, Control, and Rebellion. By late June, construction had begun on Willie's 5,000-seat Cathedral of Faith. A Christians only amusement park was being planned, and Willie was toying with the idea of building a Bible college dedicated to his own teachings. But Willie, Derek said in its exasperation, standing and pacing the plush carpet of Willie's study, you don't have the money to build such things. Do you know how much of the money you've raised has gone to buying airtime? Millions. And don't forget the cost of producing your program, paying your staff to answer prayer lines, sending out mailings, and responding to fan letters. Then, of course, there's the IRS. 50 million bucks, Willie cried. Are you saying we've burned through 50 million in 1 year? Listen, Derek said. Fundraising is a never ending cycle. You have to get more money to buy more airtime, to reach more people, to get more money, and so on. You should be bringing in over 100 million a year. You've got to change your message somehow. You need to find a way to outmaneuver your competition. You're not the only televangelist out there gaining steam right now. You're not living up to your potential. 50 million ain't bad, Willie said, shrugging. And stop saying ain't, Derek snapped. How many grammar tutors do you need to hammer that into your head? I thought Carla would have taught you how to speak by now. She has. Then why did you say ain't? None of your business. And don't you ever again make fun of the way I talk, Willie said in a low, vicious tone, glaring at Derek. You wouldn't be anything without me. You're just riding along on my coattails. And don't you forget that. Everything you own came from your cut of the profits, from my program. My program. All right, Derek sighed. I agree you're the star attraction of the show, but you can do more with it, Willie. You've got to make people believe that the more they give, the wealthier they'll become. Promise them spiritual wealth in exchange for their material wealth. Willie felt his chest tighten, the same way it had when he first held a microphone. Back then, he had wanted to give people hope. Now, he wanted more than hope. He wanted control. The thought made him feel shame, but he pushed it away. If Derek was right, maybe control was just another name for faith put into action. Provide simple answers to complex questions, Derek said. Give them inspiration and love, and get them to send in the checks. Make people think you can heal them after every doctor has failed. That's your only hope, Willie. We're competing against high and mighty preachers on other stations. We need an edge. Don't waste airtime talking about suffering, justice, humility, or loving your neighbor. You need to give people a quick fix for their anxieties. Think up slogans that will comfort them. Yes, I see what you mean, Willie said, nodding. A determined gleam shone in his eyes. Never forget that the real values you're espousing aren't severed self discipline and self sacrifice, but success, financial power, and winning. Feed their narcissism. Get them to believe they can have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ if they send in monthly contributions. I see what you mean, Willie said, rising to his feet excitedly. Think about your audience. Most of them believe in the USA as a Christian nation. You know, one nation under God. Faith should dictate our foreign policy and our legal system. Our presidents should be pious, devout, and faithful. Faithful to wife and country. Preach about these things. Willie's thoughts drifted to Carla, the way she smiled as she listened patiently to him practice speaking proper English. The way she glanced up at him with adoration during his sermons, taking careful notes. Willie kept these thoughts to himself. Derek didn't need to know just how much Carla had become part of his daily rhythm and thoughts. Most of your listeners are sick and lonely, Derek said. They want to feel recognized, needed, loved. They want a world they can understand, to feel secure, and to see the sharp contrast between good and evil, heaven and hell. They turn to you to take away their fear of aging and death, Willie. I'm satisfying the spiritual hunger of millions, Willie murmured, gazing distractedly out the window. People are afraid of so many things, Derek said, following Willie as he paced back and forth. They feel alienated, frustrated, and depressed. Local churches don't comfort them. Their services are cold, impersonal, and unfriendly. You give them hope, Willie. You can answer their prayers, make them feel rich and good, reach their hearts. You're right, buddy, old pal. I've got to change my message. Willie smacked his fist hard against his open palm, a gleam of triumph in his eyes. The church needs money to defeat the evils of Satan. He looked at Derek for a response. That's a good start, Derek said, nodding. They talked for nearly an hour, and by the time Derek had finished, Willie was brimming with enthusiasm, determined to raise $1 million in 10 months. They emerged from the study talking and laughing, Willie's hand on Derek's shoulder. Mandy lingered on the terrace longer than usual, the sun warming her arms and upturned face. She thought about the college brochures she'd hidden under her mattress upstairs, their bright colors promising a better, more exciting life. She knew her father would never approve, but sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she could almost see herself walking across a college campus with other students, feeling totally free. Mandy looked up when her father and Derek entered the room. It was midsummer, and she had just come inside from sunning herself. Her long flaxen hair was bleached by the sun. Her tan skin glistened with cocoa butter, and her slender body was clad in a white bikini. Derek stared at her hungrily. Didn't I tell you to never wear that thing? Jessie snapped. Go put on some clothes. We have company. Mandy turned to go to her room. I don't mind, Derek said. She can stay. He could not take his eyes off her long, slender legs. Mandy glanced over her shoulder at him and smiled shyly. She had admired Derek ever since she first laid eyes on him 2 years ago in Tahoka, but this was the first time she sensed he truly noticed her. Now that she had his attention, she suddenly felt modest, embarrassed, and vulnerable. I said, get dressed, Willie shouted. You're not decent. Mandy walked quickly down the hall, head bowed, then glanced at Derek one more time before disappearing into her room. Little girls sure do grow up fast, Derek murmured. She's getting out of hand, Willie grumbled. She knows she's not allowed to talk to boys, but I've caught her twice when I picked her up from school. One of them even dared to call this house. I hollered so loud, he's never called again. Scared the bejesus out of him. No boy is going to drag one of my daughters into the bushes. No way, no how. With God's help and my protection, they'll be virgins on their wedding night. Mandy graduated from high school a few weeks ago, didn't she? That's right, honor roll, Willie said proudly. Does she plan to go to college next year? That's up to her. I made her an offer. I said I'd pay her tuition if she went to a Baptist school, Texas Christian University, or some type of Bible college. So far, she's refused. Says she wants to go to the University of Texas. Just imagine that hippy-dippy school full of tree huggers and granola gobblers. Mandy entered the room wearing a thin cotton sundress. Hearing her father's words, she said, Mr. Lewis, please help me convince my daddy that there's nothing wrong with UT. Nothing wrong, Willie cried. Did you hear that, Derek? She doesn't understand that a secular education is an evil created by the devil himself. It teaches people to doubt, not believe. What could you study in a place like that? Art and history, Mandy replied. Why should I waste my hard earned money having you study such useless things? The Lord made women to be nurturers, Willie said, his voice soft but firm. A home needs a mother, not an artist. What kind of legacy would you leave poring over books and dabbling in paints when God created you to raise a family and take care of a husband? I don't want to get married, Mandy said. If I say you're gonna marry, you'll marry, Willie bellowed. Derek watched the exchange in stunned silence. He had no idea Willie was such a tyrant in his household. On camera, Willie came across as a sincere, caring man who understood everyone's secret fears or pain. Come on, Willie, give the kid a break, Derek said. There's nothing wrong with an education as long as she keeps up her Bible study at the same time. You can't protect her from the evils of the world forever. Why not? Willie demanded. She's going to have to learn to fight evil on her own. Do you want her to remain ignorant and naive all her life? She's a grown woman now. You'll have to let her go her own way soon. Willie trembled with rage. Nothing angered him more than someone attempting to undermine his authority over his wife and daughters. Don't tell me how to raise my daughters, he shouted. I know what's best for them. If I let them do whatever they wanted, they'd be pregnant and addicted to drugs in no time. That's not true, Mandy cried. Willie's eyes blazed. He strode toward his daughter and slapped her hard with the back of his hand. She stumbled backward, holding her stinging cheek in dismay. Don't you ever accuse me of lying, Willie said in a low voice. I'm your father. Thou shalt honor and obey me. The Bible commands children to obey their parents, no matter what. Dawn entered the room to see what the commotion was all about, just in time to witness the slap. She didn't utter a word, didn't move. She had learned that silence kept her safe, but inside she was screaming. Her only emotional outlet was to write in her secret notebook late at night, gripping her pen with a trembling hand. Seeing her sister gave Mandy the courage to speak up. The Bible also says, Ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, Mandy said, her cheeks still stinging. And you've made me angry, Daddy, very angry. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. I'm going to UT, and you can't stop me. I'll work to pay my way. I'm even going to live on campus. The hell you are, Willie roared. You ain't living outside this house until you're good and married. I don't want any daughter of mine running around loose and getting a reputation as an easy lay. You'll stay at home under your father's protection and remain pure, just as a modest, God-fearing Christian girl should. And you ain't going to no devil's school. Mandy rushed from the room, flung open the front door, and ran outside. Dawn ran after her, eager to comfort her older sister. And as for you, Willie said, turning to Derek, don't ever stir up rebellion in one of my girls again. They're rebellious enough as it is. I never would have hit her if you'd kept your mouth shut. Do you think I like hitting my daughters? I don't. I do it because I have to. You don't understand these girls. They're spoiled and they're stubborn. I have to teach them right from wrong. And they're mine, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. So don't mess up the way things are around here. You've already done so much damage in 5 minutes that it'll take me months to regain my control over Mandy. She's the wild one, and she needs taming. But Willie, Derek protested politely, she just wants to learn, that's all. I'm trying to keep her humble and honest. Is she ashamed of her roots? Is she trying to rise above her own family? She doesn't understand that the people of the lowest classes are spiritually the strongest. But you're no longer in the lowest class, Willie. You and your family are in the highest income bracket. This is a mansion you're living in, not an old trailer in Tahoka. I know your wealth has increased faster than you can comprehend, but you must start living like one of the higher classes. Change your manners and attitudes, just like you changed your style of dress and place of residence. I'm not changing anything. Do you think I don't know that the love of money is the root of all evil? I'm trying to teach my girls not to want fancy things, like educations that make them feel superior to plain folk. We're the simple people. We're strong in faith and hope. I didn't ask for this wealth. God gave it to me. He's testing me, you see, testing all of us. He wants to see if a little money is enough to corrupt my soul. But it's not. I'll prove to him I'm a faithful and humble servant, even amid riches. Derek scoffed. You don't mind living in a mansion, driving a Mercedes, and having wads of cash in your pocket, but you do mind your daughter getting an education. Why? She just wants to learn. I don't care what she wants. She ain't getting it. I don't want my daughter spoiled wearing sparkly eyeshadow and shiny red lipstick and fancy clothes. I don't want them getting devilish ideas in their heads that mix them up. I just want them to be happy. Worshiping the Lord in a quiet woman's way will make them happy. Realizing Willie was firmly set in his beliefs and would never budge, Derek chose to keep his objections to himself. He was dependent on Willie's evangelical empire for his livelihood and didn't want to infuriate his business partner any further. Derek apologized profusely for upsetting the preacher, then left the mansion and headed for his BMW, parked on the circular driveway overlooking the sparkling lake. As he pulled onto the main road, he thought he glimpsed his wife's car turning into the driveway, leading to Willie's estate. He made a sharp U-turn, cruising past the mansion. He saw Carla's baby blue Mustang convertible parked near the entrance and watched as Willie emerged to greet her on the marble steps. That's strange, Derek muttered. She didn't mention anything about meeting Willie today. Derek gripped the steering wheel tighter, his heart beating so hard he could feel it pulsing in his temple. Carla had a way of keeping secrets, little ones, harmless ones. So she said. But what if this one secret wasn't harmless? What if Willie wasn't just his partner, but his rival in more ways than one? His jealousy aroused, Derek pulled over and considered driving back up to the house to demand an explanation. Instead, he decided against it, fearing he might make a fool of himself if Carl's visit were innocent. Mandy emerged from the woods and ran across the road toward him. Derek was startled to see her long flowing hair and smiling face. Thanks for sticking up for me, Mr. Lewis, she said to him through the half-opened driver's window. There's no need to thank me, he said, trying to suppress thoughts about the curves beneath her sundress. You're different from your wife, Mandy said shyly. Do you know Carla well? Oh, she's over here almost every day. Doing what? Daddy says they're fundraising together. Other times it's all about the speech lessons. That's odd, Derek murmured, gripping the steering wheel. Mandy, innocent as ever, leaned in and gave him a peck on the cheek. Thank you. Derek's throat went dry. Mandy was just a girl, barely out of high school. He told himself he was only being a kind family friend, only listening, but darker thoughts crept in. He tried in vain to push them out of his mind. Be a good girl now, you hear? Derek said, then smiled and drove off, determined to satisfy his curiosity about his wife's hidden life in his own way. The end of chapter 6 of Double Lives.